Hi there, freelance friends. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. Today, we're going to talk about something that's simple but worth mentioning, and that's building a freelance business that your clients want to return to. Now, as a freelancer, it's easy to believe that the growth of your business comes from constantly finding new clients. After all, new work is exciting, validating, and often very necessary early on. But over time, the most stable and sustainable freelance businesses are actually built not on endless outreach, but on repeated customers. Because those clients already trust your work, understand your value, and don't need to be convinced to hire you again. So turning those one-off projects into long-term relationships are really less about aggressive selling and more about being intentional at every stage of the client experience. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, your client experience begins with clear communications and expectations. From the very start of a project, you want your clients to be able to feel confident about what you're delivering, how you're going to communicate with each other, and how achieving the desired outcomes is going to go. So things like having a clear scope, well-defined timelines, and expectations for all your deliverables and for communication protocols for you both will help reduce any potential friction that could arise with the client and instead create a sense of ease. Because when clients aren't worried about surprises in the project or dealing with misunderstandings, they're free to focus on the outcomes. And that sense of stability really does become something that they want to have again the next time around. So as your work in the project progresses, you are earning repeat business through how you operate day to day. In my personal experience with freelancing, I've learned that clients don't return simply because the task was completed. Obviously, there are many competitors in your industry that could easily complete the task as you did. Instead, clients return because working with you made their job easier. And that may look like anticipating questions that they're going to ask before they even ask them, flagging potential issues early before they snowball into something larger, or just simply offering thoughtful suggestions that improve the final outcome of the project as the project is moving along. When you demonstrate that you understand the client's goals and constraints, you're going to naturally shift from being their freelancer to being their trusted partner. And that really is key in the freelance world. So basically, it is my opinion that the most important moment in the life cycle of any freelance project happens well before the project ends. And although many freelancers do wait until that final invoice is sent to think about future work with their client, the groundwork really should be laid earlier. Subtly, but earlier. I'm not suggesting that you start pitching or pushing for an extension. I would more suggest openness if this is a client that you would like to continue to work with. You could do something as simple as a low pressure comment like, if this project continues or expands, I'd be happy to work on it with you. That basically lets the client know you're available without making them feel pressured or cornered. It's just subtly giving an option, not an obligation. I used to work with someone who would say, it's a suggestion, not a subpoena. Now, when the project does wrap up, it is helpful to be a little more intentional with your suggestion to work together again. It's a good time at this point when the project is done to maybe write a brief summary or reflection on what was accomplished, and make sure that you include the collaboration between the client and yourself. Because from there, you can naturally transition into future work by simply asking the client if anything is coming up next and whether there are upcoming needs that you can support. This doesn't need to result in immediate work to be successful. Sometimes you need to play the long game, and this tactic simply keeps the door open for the right moment in the future. And of course, after the project ends, staying in touch with the client is important, but it becomes about presence rather than persistence because, of course, don't want to be a nag. Many freelancers, because they don't want to be bothersome or perceived as bothersome, disappear entirely and then resurface months later when they need work. This isn't the most successful strategy, in my opinion. Instead, I would suggest that your goal is to remain lightly connected with the client. So what does this look like? Well, it might mean sharing an article relevant to their industry if you see something that you do truly think is going to be meaningful to them. Or simply checking in when you see a major organizational change taking place at the company. Or even just letting them know about a new service that aligns with their needs if that match does naturally occur. And these small, thoughtful touch points can keep you at the client's top of mind without feeling like you're being intrusive or sales driven. I think that it's also worth noting that repeat work often comes from having appropriate boundaries, which I've spoken about a lot. I know that in another post, I talked about my word of the year being abundance. But I guess if I had to have a sub word, it would probably be boundaries, because that is also something that I am personally working on with my business. I truly feel like when you respect your own time, you price your work appropriately, and you maintain your professional standards, you exude a confidence in reliability. And clients who can recognize this and value this are far more likely to return to you and refer you to others who might need your services. Because, of course, not every client is going to become a repeat customer. But that's okay. The goal isn't to keep everyone, but to work on building your long-term relationships and keeping a network of people who you can work with when the right opportunities align. So ultimately, getting repeat freelance customers isn't about one perfect conversation or a single follow-up email. It's about your behavior and actions being consistent, professional, and trustworthy over time. When clients feel supported before, during, and after a project with you, and when they know you're available without being pushy, then working with you again becomes a natural step rather than a decision that they have to overthink. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please do take the time to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And until the next time, we'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.